So over here I have some white HDPE. This is the same material they make cutting boards for kitchens out of. And this is some offcut that I got from a local stainless steel kitchen manufacturer. This is just about right. If you take a look at these cells, it is ever so slightly shorter, maybe about 3/8 of an inch shorter than the cells. But this was a scrap, it was free, it works for me. You could literally go to like Walmart or the dollar store and buy some cutting boards. Now this is 1/2 inch thick. There is a piece of angle iron here. This is 1 inch by 1 inch angle iron. And here in a minute I'll show you how to use this to reinforce this material. So that way if you get something that is roughly this thickness, you can add some extra support to make it nice and stout, and then you don't have to worry about this piece of material flexing. I also have some threaded rods and some miscellaneous hardware, and that's what I'm going to be using. Essentially, we're going to be putting 2 squares of this cutting board material on the ends, and then running some rods across top and bottom, and then tightening down the nuts to create pressure on these batteries. I drew up a template in AutoCAD. So this is actual size. So if I were to measure here, you would see that this is 8 13/16. So I can use this because I designed this to match up with the cells here. And you can see where those holes are. It gives me a perfect template on where I want to put that rod. I also have a template here for the angle iron, so that way I can drill holes, and that matches up with the holes that I have in this template here as well. So I've got this template cut out now, and I'm right on the edges of my poly, about equal distance on either side. So now I can just take a Sharpie and run it down the edge. And then this stuff cuts really easy with a circular saw. With these pieces cut, I can throw my template back on. I'm actually going to line up the bottom for the holes. And I marked in the center of these holes a 1/16 hole. So I'm going to use here a 1/16 drill bit and drill a pilot hole. And now I'm going with 7/16 so that my 3/8 rods fit in there and have a little bit of play so that I don't have to fight it as I'm putting it together. Now I need to get this aluminum angle iron to match up with those screw holes. I'm going to make it 8 13/16 long so that it matches the plastic pieces at the end. And I'm going to need a total of 4 pieces, and then I'll worry about drilling my holes in it after I have it cut. Now my original plan was to center punch these. However, I couldn't find my center punch. So in this case, we're just going for it. These holes will also be 7/16 of an inch. We need to figure out exactly how long to make these threaded rods. Now I say exact, but it's not all that critical. So to do that, we need to measure these batteries. So these 4 batteries come out at just over 8 5/8 inches. Now, I'm not being super precise here. We're going to call 8.5 for easy numbers. I have 2 pieces of 1/2 inch thick material here. So that's going to be 9.5 inches. And then I have a 1/4 inch if you add the angle iron dimension on both sides. So add all that together, and then a little bit more for the nuts we're going to be using. I usually do about 3/4 of an inch on each side, and that will be our total cut length. So in this case, that will be 11.25 inches. So I'm going to take my threaded rods over to my chop saw, kind of over here on the side of the set, and get them measured up. I'm actually going to cut them all at once. Now I realize you guys may not have a fancy chop saw like I do, but you could literally cut this stuff with a hacksaw. It's plenty easy enough. It's just going to take a little bit of patience and some elbow grease. I'm using nylock nuts, which means I need to grab the rod with a wrench, and that's how I need to get it started. So these were sharp. I should have deburred these a little bit, but I've got it pretty much flush there on the end, and that's about where I want it to be. I'm going to slip a washer through, and then I'm going to take this and pass it through one of these angle pieces like that, and then through the hole in the plastic, just like that. And then my other angle iron piece. And then I'm going to put a washer. And then another nylock nut. And then we'll repeat this process on all 4 of the rods. So now you may be saying, hey, there's a pretty huge gap in here. Couldn't I have made these pieces a bit smaller and shifted them over? I have that gap on purpose because for tightening down these threaded rods, it is easiest just to grab that rod in the middle with channel locks and then use a socket wrench to tighten that. And I wouldn't want to be nicking the cells as I do this. So having that gap there really helps me protect the cells and make sure that I'm not scratching them as I tighten this.